Let's sell some Magic cards and see if we can actually make a profit. Well, here we are together again. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here, and we're here to sell some cards. That's what we're going to do today. Profit loss. You have decided you have to sell some cards for some reason. You want to make some money. You want to minimize those losses. Guys, it is not always easy to do. This game has been around a long time, and we are lucky enough that this game has a secondary market that has cards worth extreme values in some cases. If you're an old school player who happened to be around the 90s when the game first came out and you've got some Power 9 cards, you got a lot of money on your hands. Most of you guys realize that. New players, you can just look up those stats and you'll get really freaked out. Now, when we're going ahead though and selling cards, when it's time to sell, remember, Magic has value, but a board game like Risk or Monopoly from the 1990s does not. Right? That's the best part about Magic, as we get to collect it and play the game. But if you ever do decide to sell, it does have a secondary market that has value for people trying to get those cards. It's amazing. But Magic is not as liquid as most people think. Certain cards, sure, have a lot more liquidity than others. Sometimes you have to wait. We're going to go into a lot of that today to let you know what you're up against when you decide to sell your cards and you're trying to minimize the losses you're going against. Okay? Now, I'm going to give two examples today. I'm going to give you Mox Amber, which you'll see in the backdrop here. And of course, you're also going to see a Mox Sapphire. So when we take a look at Mox Amber, a near mint copy is $40 Canadian for near mint, roughly. I'm just going to play it off a little bit. It does tend to fluctuate right now. The second card is Mox Sapphire, heavily played copy for $5,000 Canadian, okay? That's what it cost to buy most recently from the sales listings I've looked up for a heavily played copy. It looked like it had been through like a churning butter machine, just crumpled up, but $5,000, okay? Now, you'll see in the second here, you got two columns. You're going to see one that says $773, and you're going to see the other one that says $2,000. Now, before we get this little part started, I want to let you know, any card that I pay cash for, which means it's not a pack of cards I cracked, I am paying it from looking in the gorgeous shelf at a store. When I look down at that glass and say, I want that one, I want that one, those go on a spreadsheet, okay? You got to keep a spreadsheet so you know what you paid and when you bought it. It's a very simple process. Open it up, get Google Docs or whatever. You say, hey, I bought a Mox Amber back in 2018 for $5. Okay? Now, the reason this one says $773 is because if you have multiple copies of something, you need to average the price out. So you take all those recorded prices you may have. Say you have 4 of something. One was $8, one was $12, one was $10, one was $10. You add those all up, divide it by the 4 to get your average cost. Okay? And in this case, because I have thousands of copies of Mox Amber, the average price is $773 Canadian across the board of all the copies. Some I paid $5 for and I was buying 50 a week. Other times I was paying $15, $20, $25, and even $30 Canadian sometimes. But I cut it off at $30. Right? That's the most I was willing to pay. It was getting a little too rich for my blood, and I stepped back from Mox Amber at that point. I figured a couple thousand was enough. You know, between me and you. I figured. Now, for Mox Sapphire, I paid $2,000 cash. I bought it in 2020, and I believe I bought it in August of 2020. So I just couldn't help myself. Why not get another one? And I bought it. So I know what I've paid. Now that you have your cost of what you paid, now we go down to what's the reason for selling. Everyone's got their own reason. Okay, you can just think at home right now, what's your reason for selling? Do you need cash? Do you hate the game? Do you just got some cards worth money and you want some cash back for the investment you put into those cards? Are you a Magic investor and you're flipping cards all the time? Lots of people do it. There are a myriad of reasons why you may do it, but always think of your reason. And after you've got your reason why, you've spreadsheeted, you know what your costs are going to be. And remember, unlike a sealed box of Magic, sealed boxes of Magic, I always hold those for 5 to 7 years minimum, and then I had to change it when the prices went up to 7 to 9 years. I used to have it 5 to 7, but now it's 7 to 9 because there's an added cost of an extra $30 a box Canadian roughly we pay right now. As you know, before it was only like $99 a box. Now we're around $139. So you have to hold it that much longer. Okay? So, but with singles, it can be all over the place. Cards can jump up right away. A lot of people can flip cards right away before the prices dive down when there's pre-release sets coming out. It can get kind of crazy. But people who are on top of it do make a lot of money doing this. Now, where are you going to sell? Now, where you decide to sell your cards will also help determine some of your profit and loss. You're trying to maximize your profit. Okay, remember, I have a cost base here of $7.73. These cards are going for 40 bucks. That's amazing, right? I'm looking at 4 times profit plus on these cards right now. But now it's where I'm going to sell it. Well, if I sell it to a card store, and let's say I want to sell 20 copies to face, they'll take the first couple of copies at full price, I'm sure. Whatever they're asking, they give me 25 bucks each. But it'll start degrading after that. They're like, we can't handle 50 copies sitting on our shelves. We're not going to tie up that kind of capital. So they're going to lower their buy price. Right? They're going to lower it down. But there won't be any risk. Okay? And remember, you want cash in this case. We're not taking trade. You're trying to get cash for this for whatever reason. Trading, they'll usually kind of negotiate with you. But if you're trying to sell, even if I hit up multiple card stores, depending on what you're trying to sell and how valuable it is to that store to have, remember, where you sell will be important. If I sell on eBay, there will be fees. There are fees associated with eBay. If you go on a Facebook group and it has a good rapport and you're well-liked there and the people you're selling to are well-liked, you might do fine. Remember, it's got to be people you trust in that case. You're going on TCG Player, if you're going on Card Market or other places around the world, depending, you got to take that little bit there and realize there will be fees associated with all of those places when you sell. Just letting you know. Now, if you sell in person to a friend or something that's totally different. But in this case, where you sell will be important. You can look around at other stores locally and see who gives you the best buy prices, who is buying that card, and then kind of gauge it out. And depending on how many copies you have. If you only have a play set of 4, you're trying to get a couple $100 for whatever card you're trading in, it might be fine. But when you start going in mass quantity, like I might have to do, then it's going to be a lot harder to move that much product. Okay? So then we go down to the time frame. Depending on the time frame in which you want to sell will also dictate the price you try to sell it at. Remember up here where I said $7.73 at 40 bucks. But if the store's only going to give me 20 bucks a copy, that's only a little over double my profit. And say after that they only give me 15 bucks a copy. I'm still doubled, so it's not too bad. But do I really want to lose that much value off of a card? Depending on the time frame and how quick I have to rush to get the cash in hand to do whatever I need to do with it, that's up to you, whatever reason you may have, that decides it, right? You're like, oh, I need the cash next week. I'm going to have to take whatever they offer me. You might have to. And you'll have to factor that in. Maybe you don't have to sell it all. Maybe you've got 20 copies of something. You got Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, and they're going for 80 bucks a pop. They're going to give you 65 on the buy list. You're like, this is awesome. But then they start downgrading it after 4 copies. Maybe you just sell them 4. Get some of the money to help pay down your bills or help get money for whatever you're trying to get it for, but keep the other ones and hold on. The time frame can really be important depending on the situation in which you're selling. If you're not a person in a rush and you just want to slowly get some liquid assets out, you'll do it slowly with multiple card shops, right? To get as much cash as you can. You'll do it on eBay. You'll drip it out all over, realizing there'll be a little bit of fraud and stuff with that, but you can work it out slowly over time. But for those in a rush, you can also turn to big YouTubers, people like Rudy at Alpha Investments. If you have a reserve list stuff he wants, you can go to other YouTubers out there who do buy. I know people have tried to sell to me multiple times in the past. I don't have the cash flow probably necessary to buy collections. And remember, when they're buying those collections, remember this. 50 cents on the dollar is kind of the general rule if you're paying cash, because they're taking all the risk now. They're holding those cards and giving you hard-earned cash. They've got a profit from it far more than you think they would. You may think, hey, this card's 120 bucks. I want 100. They're like, no, I'll give you 60 bucks, 55, 40. It's up to them. You can always say no. But depending on that time frame, it may dictate how much money you have to accept based on that, which is why you want to have as much difference between the buy column and the sell column. When you bought it, you want as much distance as you can get so you always profit in the long run. Now, when we're looking at risk, like we talked about the places you may sell that card, when you sell on eBay and somebody defrauds you, hopefully you get the money back. eBay may not side with you. It could be an issue. That is the risk of being defrauded. Meeting in a parking lot at a dark time at night with a mock sapphire is not something I am likely to do. That would be too risky. A well-liked Facebook group with a new member coming in who tries to buy it, I may not trust that person. Right? Risk. What are you willing to risk to move your cards out, and how safe do you want to be? People on certain stores, they're pretty safe. They're going to cut you a business check and you're done. That's it. They're going to take your ID and stuff down and make sure you're not stealing them from somebody else in case the cops come looking. But that's about it. That's not that bad. Okay? But again, you're taking a loss for that because they're not going to pay you as much money as you might get elsewhere like eBay, where people are going to pay you 80, 90 cents on the dollar depending on who you're dealing with and which card you're dealing with. Now, what I like to do, look at that. Sell price the lowest. When I decide to move a product, so if I'm going to move my Mox Ambers, and I want to move 100 of them, and they are right now $40 Canadian near mint. And since all of mine are near mint, they went right from a pack straight into my binders. They never touched anything. I know they're near mint. I'm good. Okay, I'm feeling pretty confident. 40 bucks. 40 bucks. But I think, okay, a store is going to downgrade me. This will do this. Maybe I'm willing to accept individual copies for 30. I'm still way up, way up. And maybe if somebody buys a play set of 4 at a time, maybe I'll take 25. You see what I'm talking about? I'm willing to take some losses to move my product ahead of everyone else who might be out there on eBay or other platforms. I will take that hit, especially by moving a lot and I need to move it quickly. All right? Always think about that. I undercut everyone, and I don't undercut small. I undercut large. Now, the biggest things that can get in your way as a seller, if somebody trying to make profit off your cards, is going to be the evil attachment. The attachment is bad. Card shop owners have been around forever. They have no attachment to their cards. They see $10 bills that they want to become $100 bills. That's what they see. You as a player think, oh man, these are my Kozileks from my amazing deck. That's my amazing Mox Sapphire I've had for 20 years. Oh, I'm going to have such a hard time letting it go. Dude, I got to get $4,000 for it, man. I can't let it go. They don't care. Attachment is bad. It hinders you from selling when you need to sell. That's not what you're there to do. You're trying to make cash. You don't want to make bad decisions. You don't want to rush. But too much sentimental attachment to your cards can really derail you when you decide you need to sell some of them to actually capitalize and make some cash back on the card game you're playing. It can really get in the way. I know. I've done it. And I'm not talking about that odd bad decision for a couple of cards, but en masse, people who have attachment issues have a real hard time getting rid of it. Look at my hoarder video if you want to get more info on that stuff. So when you put this all together, you can see, depending on where you're selling and how, like if I tried to sell a Mox Amber, and I know it goes for $5,000, I bought it for $2,000, do you think a store is going to give me $5,000 for my Mox Amber? They're going to offer me my $2,000 back. That's it. They figured I probably paid $1,000 for it back then, but I did pay $2,000. So maybe they offer me $25,000. It's $500 worth selling it. You see what I'm saying? Depending on how you are and where you're looking, because that store is going to sell it for $4,700. They're going to put a little bit down to try to attract people and be a low price, just like we would. So maybe that would end up on eBay at $4,200, and you move it quickly because you know the stores are going to offer you $25,000. You've got to work those brackets out for yourself so you know where you stand and how much capital you need to generate. Sometimes you got to move slow to maximize profit, but if you've got to be speedy, you got to know what you're doing and which stores you're going to hit. Check the buy list, check what they're going for, check with friends and family or people who play who might want to buy some of the cards. But remember, you're going to be giving discounts probably. When somebody says, oh, do you want to buy this card for 80 cents of the TCG player? No, I want to buy it at 50 cents of the TCG player is what the person's probably thinking, right? They want to buy it way less. So they feel like they got an amazing deal on the card because it's their hard-earned cash they're giving up. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video today. I hope you learned a little bit of something about profit and loss when it comes to Magic the Gathering. It's great we have a secondary market, but you have to learn to accept that sometimes we're not going to get the maximum dollar we hope to get. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Have an awesome day today. Hey guys, a big shout out goes out to each and every one of my amazing patrons. They make the world go round. They make this channel appear. Patron supporters, my YouTube supporters, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for checking and viewing every day. Patrons and viewers rock. Thanks again. Well, well, well. Did you catch it? I wonder if you did. I gave advice on how to sell cards, profit, loss, all the things you have to look at, the big picture. But I didn't graduate Magic University. Do you realize that? They kicked me out. First semester. How do you know that I know? That I know anything? Do I know anything? Now I'm all concerned.